Hey guys, it's Laura. Welcome back to another video. So you may or may not have noticed that last week I didn't post any videos at all. I usually do 2 videos a week. I took last week off for much needed mental health break reasons. So the last video that I put up was actually my April wrap up, and this video is going to be my May mid-month wrap up. So I apologize for having 2 wrap ups back to back. That's just the way it worked out. But I have read a total of 7 books so far this month, and I've really enjoyed quite a few of them. Having a great reading month so far. You will notice, however, that I've completely gone off of my TBR with some of these and have been reading other things. I feel like I'm going through some sort of fantasy burnout, and I needed things that just weren't fantasy. I needed things that were light and fun and easy and quick to get through. So that's what I picked up. Completely went off of my TBR. I think that in the future, I am gonna do my TBRs a lot differently. I think that I'm gonna give myself a lot more room, a lot more freedom, I guess, when it comes to what books that I'm planning to read in the month. So going forward, you'll see a very different style of TBR, which I'm excited about, but yeah, TBRs just don't work for me. I've really tried, but they just don't. So anyway, let's get into books that I have read so far. I need to pull up my Goodreads so I don't forget anything. Okay, the first book that I finished this month was Flamefall by Rosaria Munda. This is the second book in the Aurelian Cycle series or trilogy, I think it's going to be. This is a young adult fantasy that features dragons. I read Fireborn, which was the first book, not too long ago. I can't remember when it was, but it was only a couple months, I'm sure. And so I picked up Flamefall, which is the second book. I really enjoy this series, I really do. There's just something about it that is holding me back from really loving it. I think it's just because I can't get emotionally invested, and I don't know why. I really enjoy the characters, Lee and Annie and their dynamic. I think it's written so well. The character motivations, the plot, the action, just everything is really, really good. And I enjoy the story. I just don't love it. I did give this a 4-star. I can't really say too much about it because it is the second book in a series, but in the first book we're following Lee and Annie. 10 years ago there was this revolution. Lee was part of the ruling family at the time. His family was killed in this revolution and he is the only survivor. And then we follow Annie, who is someone who he grew up with in the orphanage that he was sent to. And Annie's family was actually killed before the revolution by Lee's family. And so they have a very complicated relationship because of that, and they are now competing to be first dragon rider in this new regime. It's a very politically heavy fantasy. I don't always enjoy the political aspects of it that much, which is difficult because that's the main thing in this series is the politics. But I do love the characters. I do love the dragons. I feel like we got maybe a little bit more dragons in the second book. And this second book left off on such a cliffhanger that, wow, like that definitely made me want to continue reading the third book. So I will continue with this series. I think it's only going to be a trilogy, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I do recommend this series. The next book I finished was Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, and oh my goodness, I loved this book so much. So it's hard to explain what's happening in here, and I really don't want to give away too much because this is a book that's best gone into not knowing anything. We're following 3 main characters: a captain named Shiala, who is tasked with taking this very mysterious man to Tova before the day of convergence, which is the day of the black sun, the day of the eclipse that everything is counting down towards in the book. So you know that something is going to go down on that day, but you're not exactly sure what. And the very mysterious, strange man that she's taking with her is Serapio, who is a young, blind, scarred man who has a very interesting power and destiny. And then we're also following Narampa, who is a sun priest, and she is trying to gain more respect for the priesthood while trying very hard to hold on to her current position. And the 3 perspectives are not intertwined necessarily, but they are part of the same plot that leads to the day of the convergence. And I really don't want to say too much more. I loved this story so much. First of all, the characters, I loved Shiala. She was my favorite character. She, we know from the front that she has some particular type of magic, and getting to see that grow, I guess, and develop was extremely interesting. Also, she is just this amazing, strong woman. She is funny, she's sarcastic. I absolutely love her character. I love Serapio. And the thing about this book is that you follow all of these characters really closely and you start to feel for them, and you don't know if what they're doing is right or wrong because they're doing wrong things, but maybe it's for the right reasons, and you don't know who to root for. I absolutely loved that about this book. I loved a relationship that was developing in here between Serapio and Shiala, and it was just so sweet. It was so sweet. Like, these people, not necessarily good people, but the relationship between the two of them was just done so well. It's not like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so beautiful and soft and sweet between two people who are not soft and sweet, and I loved that so much. I love the world in here. I think I love the world more than anything else. This is inspired by pre-Columbian Americas, and I loved the world. I loved the lore and the mythology. I loved the gods and the clans, and just the way this world was set up was so beautiful and so well done. And I absolutely loved Rebecca Roanhorse's writing. I think that it's very simple and very accessible, but it's also very, very well done. And I loved it so much. I gave this book a 5 stars. I highly recommend it, and now I am dying. I am dying for the second book because the way this ended, I need to know. I need to know what happens next. I don't know when the second book is gonna come out, but I need it like yesterday. So I definitely recommend Black Sun if you have not picked it up yet. It is so good. Probably gonna be one of my favorites of the year, to be honest, and I cannot wait. Another like cliffhanger ending, which I hate, but I loved the way it was done anyway. So pick up Black Sun, absolutely loved it. So now here is where I went completely off my TBR. I was not in the mood for fantasy. Like, I read this book, I read Black Sun and absolutely loved it, but after that I just did not want anything else fantasy. I was hoping for like, I was in the mood for like cozy mysteries and romances, so that's what I picked up. I ended up picking up Arsenic and Adobo, and this is by Mia P. Manansala. This is a cozy mystery. I've been seeing it going around, so I decided to pick it up. I listened to the audiobook and it was really good. I enjoyed it. Probably the best cozy mystery that I've read so far in the last 2 years, to be honest, because if you were here with me back last summer when I got obsessed with cozy mysteries again, I was having a hard time finding ones that I really enjoyed. This is actually a culinary cozy mystery. We're following our main character, Lila, and she is helping out with her Aunt Rosie's Filipino restaurant. Her ex-boyfriend is actually a food critic and has been giving the restaurant horrible reviews. Everyone hates him, no one more than her. So when he turns up dead after eating at their restaurant, she is the primary suspect. And so she has to become a sleuth in order to clear her name and her auntie's name. I absolutely love this. It was funny, it was entertaining, it was everything that I needed at the time, and I'm really excited for this to be a nice long series. I cannot wait for more. I enjoyed the food aspect, I enjoyed the family aspect, I loved seeing Layla and her aunties and all like the antics they got up to. I really enjoyed the Filipino culture that was portrayed in here. I really loved everything about this. The writing was great. I'm really excited for more in this series. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars and I highly recommend. And then after that, I was trying to get back into reading fantasy, so I picked up Clean Sweep by Alona Andrews. I picked this book up recently. I think it was in my last haul, and I was getting like really cozy vibes from this. It's very familiar. It's a paranormal fantasy. There's things like werewolves and vampires, which makes it very familiar, although this does have a sci-fi twist. So kind of the origins of these supernatural creatures have a sci-fi twist, which I really thought was unique and very interesting. In this, we were following our main character, Dina, who is an innkeeper, and the inn is actually a very special inn. It's a magical, supernatural inn. In fact, the inn itself is almost sentient, and she provides refuge for supernatural creatures. And she gets into a bit of trouble because there is something in her neighborhood that is killing animals and has then started to graduate to people, and so she feels the need to do something about it along with her werewolf neighbor. And I thought it was just really, really fun. I did have some issues with this, to be honest. There were tiny little plot holes here and there, nothing huge or major, but just things that I noticed that like irritated me a little bit. I don't want to say what they are. And also the dialogue. And I know that this is somewhat of an older series. Yeah, it was published in 2013. The dialogue was really cringy at times. And like, for instance, like everyone kept saying, aha. And I'm like, who says aha so many times in a conversation? Normal people do not. It was just things like that, just little things that got on my nerves, little things that were just a little bit outdated or cringy, stuff like that. But the story itself, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed Dina. I keep wanting to call her Dinah, but I'm pretty sure it's Dina. I loved Dina as a main character. I loved the magic in here so much. The inn and the magic that the inn has. I don't even want to talk about it too much because it's just really fun to discover it for yourself. But I adored that part of it so much, and I enjoyed the overall atmosphere. I think it had a really strong atmosphere, and I loved how unique of a concept this is because I've never read anything quite like this in the paranormal space, especially with the sci-fi twist to it, which I really enjoyed. So I loved this. I gave it a 4 or 5 stars, even with all the problems that I had with it. And I'm really excited to continue on with the series because I know there's quite a few more books out. So I definitely recommend this series. I think it's called The Innkeeper Chronicles, and Clean Sweep is the first book. So I'm really excited to continue. I cannot wait to get the second one. And I just had a really fun time with this. Next, I picked up The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. So you might recall that back in February, I tried to read this. I think it was 170 pages in before I DNF'd it. I just wasn't enjoying the story and I wanted to give it another try. It was one of my most anticipated books of the year, so I did. I gave it another try. I actually listened to the audiobook for this, and very happy to say that a lot of the problems that I was having with it in the beginning while I was reading it physically, I didn't have with the audiobook. I found it to be a little bit repetitive at times, those first 170 pages, but listening to the audiobook kind of helped with that. So I didn't notice the repetitiveness of it the second time around. I did read the whole thing and I enjoyed it. I'm glad that I finished it. I think it was fine. I think it was a great debut, to be honest, but I just didn't enjoy my time with it as much as I really wanted to. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't have very strong feelings for it one way or another. So I didn't have strong feelings for the main character. She was okay. I think that some of the decisions she made was kind of iffy at times. However, she's young. I think she's like, what, 15, 16 in here. And even though this deals with very heavy, serious topics and themes, it does read a little bit on the younger side of YA, which isn't a problem, just not what I'm personally looking for. And also I found it to be quite predictable. Whenever the author laid clues for something, I was like, oh, well, that means that this is gonna happen, and what do you know, that's what happened. So, which is, I mean, it's not a problem. Predictability is not a problem in a book if I still enjoy reading the story. So yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 5 star. It was fine. I probably won't continue on with the series. I'm really sad about it, but that's how I felt. So there's that one. At least I finished it. The next book I have here is Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. I have been wanting to read this book for so long, and I'm so glad that I finally did. I actually buddy read this with Tasha from Mood Reads with Tasha. I will have her channel linked down below so you can go check her out. But we both really enjoyed this. She finished it in like a day. I finished it in 2 days. It was so much fun. This is a YA contemporary. We're following our main character Jack, who meets Kate at a party, falls in love with her, and then Kate dies. And he finds himself going back in time to the beginning of their relationship and living it all over again. And I just loved it so much. I loved the authorial voice. I loved Justin A. Reynolds' writing. I thought that it was funny and sweet. I loved the main character Jack because he is just a sweet cinnamon roll of a boy. He was just so fun to follow. And it's interesting because I have a hard time with YA contemporaries that focus on like high school drama and stuff like that. And this did have a little bit of that, but because of the sci-fi twist, it was very interesting. And I didn't mind it. I didn't mind the high school stuff. I didn't mind the drama, even though it wasn't overly dramatic or anything like that. I enjoyed my time with this so much. I loved Jack and Kate's relationship. I loved the sci-fi twist. I loved that it was like not really explained, but ultimately I loved the way it ended, and I just had a lot of fun with it. It was funny, it was smart, it was really well done. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. I'm really excited to read more from Justin A. Reynolds, and I highly recommend this book. Okay, I think I said I read 7 books so far this month. I actually read 8, so this is the second to last. This is Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. You guys, this book is so ridiculous. It is ridiculous, it is over the top, it is unbelievable. If you're gonna read this book, you definitely need to suspend your disbelief, and if you're not able to do that, you definitely won't enjoy this. In this, we are following Medi Chan, and Medi Chan has 3 aunties and her mom, and they all have like this wedding business. Her mom does flowers, one auntie does cakes, one auntie does hair and makeup, and she is the photographer. So her aunties and her mom are determined to have her in a relationship. They set her up on this blind date. She goes on the blind date, it goes horribly, and she accidentally ends up killing the guy. So she calls her aunties for help in taking care of the body. Then the body accidentally gets shipped off to this multi-million-dollar wedding that they're gonna be working on. And chaos and madness ensue from there. It is hilarity. It is so ridiculous, and I absolutely loved this. I gave it 5 stars. You guys, this is also going to be a Netflix movie. It's getting an adaptation, and I cannot wait for that movie because it's probably going to be even more funny. But when I tell you that while reading this, I literally had to put the book down because I was holding my stomach bent over, laughing so hard that I couldn't continue reading. That's how funny this is. And I know that humor is subjective and like not everyone's gonna find the same things funny, but I think that this is absolutely hilarious. It was so much fun. It was exactly what I needed because, like I said, I was just not in the mood for fantasy, and I was looking for more like this. Just funny, ridiculous, over the top. I had a great time. I had so much fun with this. I constantly had a smile on my face while reading this, and if I wasn't smiling, I was laughing so hard that I was crying. So I definitely recommend, but like I said, you do need to suspend your disbelief a little bit because it's absolutely wild. Like the things that happen and the way, like the situations that Medi finds herself in, hilarious. It also has a bit of a romance going on. Medi's high school, or no, not high school, her college sweetheart is actually the manager of the hotel where the wedding is taking place. So she sees him for the first time in like 4 years, I think it is, and she's still kind of hung up on him. And so there's like this cute little romance going on too, but also like just absolute chaos because everything in the wedding is going wrong, and then of course we have a dead body going around. So it's so good. It's so ridiculous that it was good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I never thought that I would read a book like this and absolutely love it, but just the writing was so good. I loved the culture, the Chinese, Indonesian culture and food and language, and just, it was perfect. It was perfect. I so recommend this book. Please pick it up if you want to die laughing, because that is exactly what will happen. This is also the first book in a new series, I'm pretty sure, and like I said, Netflix movie, which I cannot wait for. So I highly recommend this. I absolutely loved it. It was perfect. 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, the final book that I read so far this month is Sight Witch by Susan Dennard. This is book like 2.5 in the Witchland series. I enjoyed this for the most part the first time I read it. This was a reread for me, actually, and it was fine. It had a lot of very, very interesting and probably important, I haven't continued on with the series so I don't know, but probably important information for like the rest of the series, so I appreciated it for that. And I think this time around I ended up enjoying the story a little bit more. We're following Ryber, who is a sight witch, and the things that happen in the mountain. And I can't say too much because it's in the middle of a series, but I really enjoyed my time with this. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, which is what I gave it last time. Probably more of like a 3.5, but it made me so excited to continue on with this series because there's something that was revealed in here that I completely forgot about, just completely. And it just makes me really excited to figure out what's happening or what's gonna happen next in the series. So I cannot wait to pick up Blood Witch. I probably will do that before I'm supposed to, like, because I'm following the Witchlands along that Jade from JD Ray Reads is hosting, and we're supposed to read Blood Witch next month. I might pick it up this month because I'm just so anxious to continue on, but we'll see. I have no idea where my reading is going to take me for the rest of the month. I'm still not quite in the mood for fantasy, even though I'm currently reading a fantasy. I might as well tell you what I'm currently reading as well. I'm currently reading Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, which is the second book in the Locked Tomb series. I am 206 pages in, so I've already made it further along than I did the first time. Still not quite understanding what's going on, to be honest with you. I don't know if I'm just not smart enough for this book, but I just don't get it. I'm so incredibly confused, and I'm trusting the author. I loved Gideon the Ninth so much. I'm just trusting the author that to get me to a point where I can understand at some point. But I mean, I am 200 pages in, so I mean, for the most part I kind of understand the plot, but I'm very confused in the details, like very confused. So that's where I am with this. Hopefully I can continue to enjoy it because I am enjoying it. I really love the humor in here. I really love the vocabulary, the writing. I really enjoy this book, and the atmosphere overall. It's like 99% atmosphere, to be honest. So yes, I'm enjoying it. We'll see how it goes. I'm also reading The Weight of Feathers by Anna Marie McLemore, which is a magical realism. So I'm hoping to slowly work my way back into fantasy, but honestly, I'm still in the mood for contemporary, for cozy mysteries, for anything else besides fantasy. So we'll see how it goes, but that is it. That is my current mid-month wrap-up, all the books that I've read so far this month. Do let me know down in the comments if you have any thoughts or opinions on the books that I talked about today. I love hearing from you in the comments. But that is going to be it from me today. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.